All right, before we get the show started, I have to give a huge shout out to a special group of individuals that I like to call my Patreon podcast producers. And you know what? They're all on Instagram, so make sure you give them a follow. Daryl at Your Level Fitness, Kaitlyn at Kaitlyn Elise, put 3 Y's in her name, Crystal at Reduced Fat Mama, Joey at Joey Losing Weight, Vanessa at Vanessa Ray's Journey, and Amanda at Mutts_and_miles. These guys are helping this show to move forward in a huge, huge way. And if you want to join this special group of individuals, make sure you stay tuned at the very end of the show for more details. Are you Team Apple? I got to shout out all of you checking out this show right now on an iPhone, iPad, etc. In fact, nearly 70% of you are listening to me on one of these devices. It would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review. This is one of the best things that you can do for this podcast to help get the word out. And while you're at it, leave reviews for some of your other favorite shows. I bet they would really dig it. Oh, yeah! How are you, Mr. Gillis?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, man, it's been a day. I'll tell you what. I mean, we could just get right into it. You ever have one of these days where you just don't feel like doing shit?
That's every other day.
Well, I've already got the required explicit tag checked here, so boom. No, I got to tell you, man, I actually just shared this in my stories, but I was in the parking lot at the gym and I was ready to go. I was very tired, but I've had that thing a million times where like I feel tired. I feel like I don't want to move. I go in, I feel amazing afterwards. So that wasn't the problem. I went into my gym bag because I was grabbing my GoPro out to film today's vlog, and I reached down and I cannot find my headphones because rarely I will actually get dressed at work. If I have a few minutes before I leave, like really quick, if I'm not busy at the very end of the day, which is rare, but I'll run into the bathroom, change into my gym clothes so that when I get to the gym, boom, I can just walk right in and go. So I pull out the vlog camera and I'm reaching for my headphones because I'm getting ready to walk in. And then I realize my gym headphones or my headphones, they're just not there. And I sat there for a moment. I'm just like dumbfounded. I'm like, did these headphones, like, are they lost? Are they sitting at home, which is exactly what happened? Or did I somehow drop them somewhere? And then my mind just like loses it. I just get lost. I get kind of frozen for like a minute or two. Yeah. And I just sit there and I'm like, I'm going home. Yep. I'm just going to go home today.
It's hard to work out at the gym without headphones because if you go to the gym, you're going to listen to some kind of music that you really just can't get you in the mood. And so you're having to listen to that for a solid hour or however long you're in the gym. Yeah, that so many times that's happened. And I'm like, okay, this workout's getting cut like in half because there's no way I'm going to just do this because I have to have music when I work out.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And you know what? Actually, to be fair to my gym, I don't want to throw them under the bus. The music they play, I actually don't hate. Normally it's like top 40 or like the dance remix of top 40 or some kind of like electro pop. And actually that stuff doesn't really bother me. I kind of, if it sounds good, I can get into it. The problem is always having my own stuff, which is usually either a podcast or a new record release, or if I'm just in the mood to go throw back, something older. The point is that I'm walking to the gym with the expectation that I get to listen to what I want to listen to. And when I realized I didn't have that, I was just done. I threw in the towel. It maybe is a little premature, but I looked at it, I'm like, okay, well, I can make the 15-minute drive back to my house. Here's the deal. It's 4:10. And then I'm like, okay, 15 minutes is 4:25. Then if I drive back, I'm at like 4:45, 4:50. If I get started, right, I go an hour, then it's going to be 5:50. It just doesn't work. The math doesn't work.
The only time that I've forgot my headphones and I'm like, okay, I can't do my regular workout. so I switch to like a spin class or something.
Yeah.
That's the only time that I do that, because I'm like, I'm not gonna work out for an hour doing this. Like, I can at least go listen to somebody's playlist that I actually know they play good music, and I can just work out to their stuff.
Yeah. This has never happened that I can recall. Usually what will happen is sometimes I forget to charge the headphones, but like I have the I just got the Power Beats Pro, and so if you charge them for like 10 minutes you get an hour charge. So like that's I'll sit in the car for 10 minutes whatever, but I didn't have that opportunity. They were sitting on my dresser and I got home and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I was just so done with the day. But I mean, I'm sure you've gone through this where you're just like, man, like something happened, something small, something that like, it's just not really like a huge deal, but like it'll just bring you right to your knees.
That's why I carry two pairs of headphones.
Yeah.
I have my main pair of headphones, and then I have a backup. They're like a cheap pair, like wired. But I always have two pairs now from now on. Like in the way I edit, I have two pairs of headphones because I take my computer back and forth.
Right.
And then the same thing in my gym bag. I have two pairs in there too. So because I will forget my headphones completely.
Dude, I got some fumbling on my desk. I wish you could see this, but I just found my like the headphones that come in the box with my iPhone, and I swear to you, like I'm putting these in my bag right now, and they're gonna live in my car. They're not even gonna live in my gym bag. Mm-hmm. They're gonna live in my car for this explicit reason. So this does not happen again. You, sir, have saved the day. Do you realize this?
Two pairs of everything. That's how you save the day.
I do have two pairs of editing headphones. Like when I'm doing videos or podcasts, I do have two pairs. But it had not dawned on me to have two pairs for the gym, which is clearly more important. I don't know why this never dawned on me.
You have to have two pairs.
Willie Gillis dropping the fire already, and we're not even. Well, okay, we're 5 minutes in. We're not even 10 minutes in, folks. He's dropping the fire here. Can you believe this? Oh my goodness, dude. God, when is the last time? I think you were on here October, mm-hmm. Man. Wow. How much has changed since October?
Since Flying Pig, there's been a lot of change. Well, a lot of personal change.
Right.
And like, it's not the greatest change in the world, but like we got done with Cincinnati, and then just all kinds of changes hit me back to back. And like, so like it's now July, and like I'm slowly kind of coming out of that transition of all that stuff. So like I'm in a better place than I was, say, a month ago. So
right.
Cause like if you notice my Instagram, I hadn't really been posting that much. And and that's why, because there's been a lot of stuff happening in the background.
No, I mean, it's understandable. I mean, especially when there's something going on, you just don't want to post. I remember I had an uncle, or no, it was my aunt that had passed away, and I went like a solid 2 or 3 weeks without putting anything out. And that's unlike me. Like I mean, you know how I roll, man. I've got a lot, that I put myself into way too much. And then, so as a result, I feel like I need to post all the time, and I've dialed that back significantly, but I can certainly understand. I mean, at that time, like when that happened, I was like, you know what, screw this. I'm gone for a couple of weeks. And, so I can clearly, I could definitely understand where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, I just had to take a break from it. And so like I was having so much change and issues happening in my personal life that I started doing more of the podcast. So like I started doing more of those interviews and stuff like that. And that kind of got me out of that funk. So
yeah, creativity will definitely do that to you.
Yeah.
If you stay busy enough, like, man, you can put a lot of stuff aside, because I'm kind of going through some stuff right now that I'm not really ready to share just yet. But I will say that doing these podcasts and everything, like scheduling all these, is keeping me busy, keeping my head, clear, and just getting into the next day. I mean, by the time this podcast comes out at the end of August, I expect all that to be resolved. But certainly I'm just like, man, this is just it's crazy. So I mean, I can definitely understand. And I remember when we met up at the Flying Pig. I mean, that was a lot of fun, man. I every time I get somebody on here that was there, it's always just fun to look back. I go back and I watch those videos from that weekend all the time.
Yeah, that was a crazy weekend, because I when I came into that whole thing, I was kind of nervous to meet everybody. And then once I met everybody in person, I was like, they're exactly who I thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
So it was just interesting to see that I've been talking to these people for months, and then you meet them in person and you're like, okay, they're exactly what I thought. And they're actually better than what I thought. So like I've made a lot of friendships through meeting everybody in person. And I'm closer to a lot of those people. Like I'm closer to you and Gary and I mean you and Daryl and Crystal, like all those people. So it was just a fun time, and I'm looking forward to doing it again next year because it's going to be way bigger. So
oh man, it's going to be huge. I remember when I got home, I was so bummed because I didn't want to leave. Now, I will say this, you know, when it comes to places I love to be, I talk so much about like Charleston. I love to be down there. I want to move down there. But when it comes to meeting up with people, like this weekend that we spent there in Cincinnati was just, it was unforgettable. I mean, it was just, you know, like I said, I go back and watch the videos all the time. Everybody was so freaking cool. The city, man, they showed up huge for strangers they don't even know. And that's what really kind of blew me away is like, you know, you're going through the course and there's people on the sidelines. They don't even know who you are. They're cheering you on. They're trying to hand you pretzels and Gatorade and all kinds of just random stuff. And I'm like, man, this city, man, they showed up huge.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest races I've been to in a long time. Like I've been to a lot of races, and you know this.
Yeah.
Like I've been to so many races, and like that was huge. And when we did the 10K, it was huge. But then when I went back out the next day with Angela to do her full, it was even bigger. And
I can imagine
the city really showed up for that marathon. I
could only imagine. We probably talked about this on the last podcast. Have you done one yet? A marathon?
I've done two. I mean, I've finished two, and I didn't finish the third one, but I've attempted three.
For people that don't know what a marathon is all about, and I don't just mean like as far as like the miles, because I think it's what, like 26 miles?
26.2.
Okay. But as far as like people that don't know, like what really goes into that, like, you know, can you kind of describe like what that feels like, you know, being a part of such a long process like that?
Well, it starts back with training as hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're training for like 16 weeks before that.
Oh my God.
And then when you get into like starting the marathon, like you're pumped up, you're jazzed, and then, you know, you're running, and then like the first 13 miles you're good, and then when you get to like 18, like you're dying.
Yeah.
And then when you get to 22, like you're like, okay, I can do this. And then when you get to 25, you're like, I'm dying again. And then you finish by 26. So yeah, it's rough, but marathons are not my sport. Like I can do halves, no problem. And anything lower than that. But like I did my first one in my hometown in Memphis. I did the second one like literally like 3 months later, and then I tried to do a third one like a year later. So like, no, I'm done. My career is done with marathons.
I feel like I never say never for many things, but I feel like even though I know I could eventually do it if I really put the effort in, I don't even know that I want to do that. I mean,
I feel like everybody should at least attempt one.
Just one.
Just one, just so you can say, I finished a marathon, and not many people can say that.
Well, I will say this. If I did do one, it would probably be at the Pig. I mean, that probably would be where I would go just because that place is so special to me now, considering everything that happened this past year, just, you know, meeting everybody, being there, the vibe, the people of the city and the support. Mm-hmm. And so if I were to do any of them, it would definitely be in Cincinnati, 100%. But next year I'm doing the 5 and the 10. That's my dose of craziness for this upcoming year. It's as far as I'm going.
Yeah. If I hadn't signed up yet, but I know I will.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to end up doing the 10K and the 5K, but we will see.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So we got done with the 10K. I know Daryl already said he's 100% out. He's doing the 5 and he's good to cheer on everybody else. And I think he's got a few choice words for some of us crazy ones that are doing both the 5 and the 10. I've heard some of his commentary on his podcast, but look, I mean, I was going to do just the 5. And the reason why I was going to do just the 5 was number one, the 10 beat the hell out of me. But number two, my wife decided that she is going to partake in the race next year, which blew me away. I mean, really blew me away. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I remember I was talking with Jesse, Kaitlyn's husband, and J-Wo, and he says to me, hey, you know, you wimp, why don't you do the 5 and the 10? That's what Kaitlyn and I are doing. And I thought about it. I'm like, man, I'm not gonna let this guy call me out like that. Like, I'm not going out like that. I'm like, you know what? You got it. I'm doing it. Sign me up for both. That's this go. And then that night I ended up booking the 10K. I already booked the 5, and then I went and booked the 10. I said, all right, you going to put me out? Like, I'm going to do it. Check it out.
See, I'm stubborn because right now Valerie's trying to get me to sign up for the half.
Yeah.
Sweating until happy. She's trying to get me to sign up for the half. I'm like, no.
Yeah, while those that are doing the half, I'll be on the airplane probably back to Virginia at that point.
Yeah, she keeps trying to get me to do it. I'm like, no. I'm like, that's a half no for me. She's like, well, she's like, what about a half yes? It's like, it's a half no for me.
Oh my God.
I might change my mind.
I feel like, though, I don't know how you felt the next day, but I feel like I might need to stay in Cincinnati like one more day just to recover, because I woke up that next day and I was already feeling it when we got back to the room after the race. I mean, I was chafing, my nipples were raw, like everything. I don't mean to be graphic about it, but like, good God, man, it was bad. And so I feel like I needed like a whole day just to recover. But we were on the plane the next morning, and I had that damn medal around my neck. I wore that thing all the way home on the plane back, wore it over to my parents' house, took a picture. I was proud of that.
I'm just laughing because every one of y'all were like hurting, and then I just walked past y'all like, oh, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, it's not like you haven't done these before, Willie.
Well, 2 months before that, I just did an impromptu half marathon.
Right.
I just signed up for it. I was like, because they didn't have a 10K, so I was like, oh, I'll do the half. And I just did that 2 months before, so I was like, oh, this is nothing. So I just did the 10K just because I was like, okay, everybody's doing the 10K, I'll do the 10K.
Yeah, no big deal at all. No big deal at all. Willie Gillis doesn't flinch on a half marathon. He's ready to go at all times.
Unless Valerie asks me to, and I'll say no.
Well, now you're probably just trolling. I think deep down you're like, yeah, I'll go rock that half marathon.
No, I want to enjoy my time in Cincinnati. I don't want to run. I don't want to run 2 days. Sorry.
Oh my
I'm good with
God.
1 day.
Oh my God. I was actually, when I got back from the race, I was trying to go get a tattoo, but that wasn't happening because nobody had any openings at that time. I was like getting crazy, even though I was hurting and I was sore. I decided I'm going to go get a tattoo, and it just didn't work out. But I'm with you. I want to spend some time resting in Cincinnati. I might even get out there a day earlier next year, a day earlier and stay a day later.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was thinking about maybe coming that Thursday instead of that Friday like I did last year. But I drove last year, so I'm flying next year.
Oh my God, man. How many hours was that? Like a 10-hour, 12-hour? What was that?
We drove from here in Texas, in Southeast Texas, to Memphis, where my parents are. Stayed there overnight, and then drove from Memphis to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and then Bowling Green, Kentucky to Cincinnati. So it was a couple of days of traveling.
That is now. I actually like the art of traveling in a car, but that just seems like, man, that's a long trip.
It was a 17-hour trip one way.
And not to mention your wife. Did she not? She ran what, all the races or just about all of them?
She ran the 5K, 10K, 5K, 10K marathon, and then my daughter ran the Piglet. And she ran that with her. So yeah,
she about ran them all.
Pretty much.
God, man. Did you have to drive home? Because I bet she was probably sore.
I drove the way up here, up to Cincinnati, and my dad drove back because my dad was with us.
Oh, he was with you. Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad and my mom were with us too.
There you go. There's the pro tip. If you're gonna drive, bring the parents and make them drive.
Well, I still had to drive the 8 hours back to Texas from my parents' house, so like that was pretty rough.
8 hours ain't nothing. I do that from Virginia to Charleston. It's no biggie. Although my wife, she hates being in the car. She hates it. It can be a long drive. I don't know what it is. I just like the open road, man. Like I just like to look at the trees and the signs and the crappy little stops along the way. I love all that stuff. I guess I watched too much National Lampoon's Vacation.
I think you have.
Well, that and my dad was in the Navy, so we had to like move back and forth between Virginia and California, and drove across the country probably 3 or 4 times as a child. So it's that rose covered glasses kind of thing where you just look back on it fondly, and then you actually have to go and make that drive, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, it does. Driving like shorter distances doesn't bother me. It's just anything over 8, you're like, okay, that's too much.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I need a break. I need a couple. I got about an hour of a break, and then let's keep going.
Yeah, definitely. So Cincinnati, when you went, was that your first time ever there, or had you been there before?
Yeah, that was my first time.
No kidding.
In Cincinnati. Yeah.
What'd you think about just the city, race aside and all that?
I really enjoyed that city. I didn't get to see a lot of it because we stayed downtown, so we were kind of around the race situation. So
yeah,
we didn't get to see everything. We went to Newport, which is the next town over, but like we didn't really get to see a lot. So
right,
I'm hoping this next time that we go, that we get to see a little bit more, because we didn't go to the zoo or anything like that because we got in like Friday and then we left literally Sunday. So
yeah, true that. Did you get any of that Skyline chili?
No, and that's a travesty too, because it was right down the road from our hotel.
Oh man,
because we stayed like right in the middle of downtown, and there was one right like 2 blocks down from the hotel, and we didn't get a chance to go.
It was probably the one I went and ate at, because we ate at one downtown. We went to the zoo because my wife, she loves animals. That's her thing. We got an Uber to drop us off near the convention center, and we're like, okay, well, before we go in, we got to eat, because we hadn't eaten anything since that morning. And I looked it up, and sure enough, there was a Skyline chili right on a street corner. It's right on the corner or something. And so we went there.
That's exactly where it was.
Yep. It's actually in my day one of the vlog. So if you see the picture, you probably recognize it. But we ate there, and I was just, man, I was blown away. I was like, I'm not a huge chili guy, but man, I was all in on that.
Yeah, I wanted to try, but we just didn't have the time to do it. So I was kind of disappointed that we didn't. But I plan to go there first when we go back. That's going to be the first place I go to, because I plan to go there a day early. So I'm going to enjoy just Cincinnati for the whole day. So
I'm with you. I did tell Heather, I said, we got to stay at that hotel we stayed at last time, which is actually on the other side of the bridge in Kentucky, but right in front of the hotel was a Skyline, and then right next to the hotel was White Castle. And I'm like, you know what? We're on like a little mini vacation. I'm running this big race. We'll burn off those calories in the race. No worries.
See, you got a plan, and that's what you have to go. Look, if you're like me, like if there's a restaurant that's not anywhere near my house, like anywhere near our area that I've never tried, I'm definitely going to try it.
Of course. Yeah, you got to. And especially next year, I got challenged to another race. So I'm going to be burning all the calories. I need to make this stuff up, man.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah. You have any upcoming races?
No, I'm going to take the next year off and just do a lot of kind of self-reflection this year, because we're recording this on a Wednesday, so like August 5th is my birthday, so I turned 39. So
wow,
and everybody won't hear this until later in August, but yeah, I turned 39 on August 5th, and I'm taking the next year just to really reflect on myself and try to learn about myself, because I've spent a lot of time in the shadows just doing what everybody else wants to do. So I'm trying to do my own thing right now. So like, I'm really trying to figure out where the next, 10, 20 years is going to go. So that's what I'm going to really be focused on for the next year. So
you, at this point, you're still in the discovery phase. Like, you don't know what it is you want to do, really.
Yeah. And I've had this conversation with Nikki too. Like, we were talking about this the other day, and like, she was like, what do you want to go with your career path? And I was like, I have no clue. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out for the next year. As of right now, there's a possibility that I can get a promotion, so I'm working on that, and just everything just with me, I'm trying to work on for the next year.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you gotta focus on you at some point. If you don't focus on you at some point, you're gonna crash and burn, man.
Well, here's a funny thing, and I think I've told the story before, but I lost 300 pounds from 2011 to 2013,
Right.
and then like I kept it off for a couple of years, and then my weight started creeping back up, and I realized that I did not know like who I was, and so like I kind of lost myself in the weight, like being a weight loss person, and then I just slowly started gaining weight back because I didn't fix all the issues that I had. Like I had a lot of issues with food and
Yep.
just like self love and like self like knowing myself, and like I just let that go, and like I didn't try to fix it. So like now I'm finally trying to fix that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's that mental aspect. And I bring it up, I feel like every single podcast, but I mean, damn if it ain't relevant. I ain't just bringing it up out of the blue. I mean, it is, to me, it's more important than anything, because I honestly feel like if you don't have your head straight, that's the driver of your body. So if that thing ain't working correctly, how can you expect everything else to fall into place? I mean, you could probably, I think a lot of people, you could quote unquote fake it till you make it. Maybe you get that right look, you get in the right weight or whatever it is. But again, if that headspace isn't on tight enough, if it ain't right, it is going to come crashing down.
Yeah. And I just spent a lot of time not focusing on all that stuff. I just kind of let it sink into the background, and now I'm like, I have to fix this now, because if I don't, I'm going to go through the same cycle over and over again of losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, and it's never going to fix itself unless I do it myself.
What do you think it was that kind of put you in that, I mean, I guess for lack of a better term, that kind of like autopilot headspace where you're kind of just, going along until you realize things were, reaching trouble, shaky ground?
Well, I think because when I was losing weight, like I had a kind of like a focus, like a north star. So like I knew exactly where I was going.
Yeah.
So after all the weight came off, and I was like, all right, I'm down to the goal weight that I kind of want to be at, and then I didn't have a next plan. So like I was just cruising. Like I had no clue what I was doing, and so like old habits start to come back in, and all that kind of stuff, and like that's the stuff that's dangerous. Like if you don't have some kind of plan to, like, after you, like Daryl says, like once you've reached maintenance, this is what your maintenance is, just like weight loss. But like if you don't know where you're going, like from weight loss to maintenance, then like you're kind of screwing yourself.
So essentially, it sounds like to me, from a mental perspective, mentally you were living paycheck to paycheck, essentially.
Yes.
No plan. And just going forward, I feel like as a creator, I've run into that. I don't know if you've run into that, making your podcast and stuff, but I feel like I've run into that a couple of times over the years. And it's probably what stopped me from being so much farther along. You would think 12 years in, good God, you would think you'd be making millions doing podcasting by now. That's just not the case. I think, you get to a certain point and you're like, well, damn, I made it. All right, what now? I can identify that with, there was a time where I had gotten a clip of my old show played on Sirius on the Howard Stern channel. And I'm like, man, this is making the big time. And then like nothing really came of it. And I was like, well, I don't know why this is happening. And I just kind of gave up on it. And then it just kind of fell apart, and try to build it back up again. And it falls apart, and you build it back up again. And well, guess what? It falls back apart, and it's like this never ending cycle.
I think that just like, and I don't know how my mind works kind of different, like differently, because like when it comes to me in general, I'm not like goal oriented, but when it comes to like creativity, I'm like a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And like I have to do everything this way, or nothing works. So like I've always been like that, and I have no clue why I'm like that, but it's always been that problem. But when it comes to me, I'm not a perfectionist. I'm like, okay, this will go the way it goes.
Yeah, so and you just kind of let it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see where that could be a problem.
Yeah, it's so weird, and I kind of started realizing that this year. I'm like, when it comes to creativity, I will be editing for 30 minutes to an hour, trying to get it perfect and all that stuff. And I started doing this now, where if I put a podcast out, I just edit it one time and then I put it out. Because if I don't, I'm never gonna put anything out.
Well, I can understand that. I was editing one of them. This would have been, well, it's already aired by the time people are hearing this, but the Chris Barrett one, the music one, and I had already edited the video cut for the Patreon people, but then I went and I was editing together the audio cut, and I'm like, well, since this isn't going on YouTube or nothing, I could use the music that this guy was in, the bands he was in, and let me insert some clips and some little 10-15 second little snippets. And then like there was times where things wouldn't work quite the way they should, and I damn near scrapped the whole thing and just uploaded it as a straight audio like I've done for all 100+ other episodes. And I'm like, okay, no, I got to go back, I got to make this right, because I felt like it really needed it. Well, I mean, the conversation didn't need it, but I mean, I felt like to add more context, to explain it a little bit more, I needed to put it in. And I eventually went back and put it in, but I was just like, man, it can be tough, especially from the creator standpoint. I don't think people know kind of like what we go through when it comes to making, creating things.
Yeah. And, I'm envious of Daryl, because Daryl would just put stuff out.
Oh God. Yeah.
And yeah, Daryl will put stuff out and just put it out there. And I'm like, you're not going to edit that? And he's like, no, because if I edit it, I'm going to slow myself down. I'm like, but you can make it even more cleaner. No, I'm just going to put it out. Like, what? Like, and that's just my perfectionist head going, you sure you don't want to edit that? And he's like, no, I just put it out. I'm like, I was like, kudos to you, because I can't. Like, I have to do some kind of editing, because I went to school for that. I went to school for production and all that stuff. So like
no kidding.
Yeah, I went to school for film, TV, and radio. So like I have a background in all that stuff. I was a TV editor for a while.
Oh man, now you just dropped the legit card on us. Like we're all out here hustling, trying to make the dream live. And you're like, yeah, I went to school for that. I know all about that. No big deal.
I was a news editor. I was a TV news editor for a video editor for like 3 years.
Oh, so that's like amazing.
It's news is the fastest career. Like it's so fast paced that like you have to keep up, and it was really stressful because like you said, when you have a like a perfectionist mind like me and you have, like
yes,
you can't like, oh, if it's perfect, whatever. You have to just put it out the way it's going to be, and you have to have it out by 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever. So like,
yeah, because if you don't have it out, like the way the news cycle is, people have already forgotten that stuff the next day. Yep. It's like when these big scandals comes out, everybody makes a big deal about it, and then by the next day, nobody even remembers what happened.
And it's funny though, because now, and I was noticing that though, because I was watching stuff on YouTube, and now YouTube has turned into that, like where you have to put something out real quick to get that attention.
Oh, 100%.
Because I've noticed that now, like you will have a news story and it's already on YouTube before you even see it on the news, and I'm just like, that's so strange. But I saw that today. I was like, I saw this on YouTube before I even saw it on CNN or anything else. Like, it's so strange.
Well, yeah, there's YouTube, and then Reddit's another one. I don't know if you ever go down that rabbit hole, but my God, Reddit, some of the stuff you see on there is just unbelievable.
Yeah, the whole social thing is turned into something way different. Because I'm reading this book about this guy who's in marketing or advertising and stuff like that, and he used social media to like get like stories out for his clients and stuff. So like, it's an interesting book, but like, it really shows you how easily media can be manipulated.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, people will put stuff out there, and if you don't have the full context, like you don't know, what the real story could be, you're just hearing one side, or you're hearing, 2 of 3 sides or whatever it is. I mean, you're not getting the full story, and stuff will just get out there. And likewise, there's all these people that become viral stars because there's just this one thing that gets out there, and it goes nuts.
Yeah. And that's dangerous though too, because if you don't have both sides of the story, like you've seen these stories where a story comes out and then you only see like half the video.
Yeah.
And then you don't see the stuff that happened before that. So like you have no context. So like, I can't remember what story it was. It was about some kids in Native Americans, I think, a while back.
Right.
And you only saw like the second half of the story. You didn't see the first half. So like it was so weird. Like that news has turned into that, where you only get half the video, and then I think the first half of the video came out, and then you found out like what happened before that, and you're like, okay, that makes more sense of what just happened. So it's just so strange.
Yeah, like I'll stay off of Facebook for that very reason. Like I never really get on there at all anymore. Everything that I ever post is like auto posted to my business page, and then occasionally there might be a group I'm in, like for print on demand or video editing or something, where I'm looking to get some answers or whatever. But like as far as like general feed with like family and friends or whatever, you get like the people on there, like they share every little thing. It's like clickbaity. It's either like a fake video or a fake picture, or it's political stuff. And people start typing 8-paragraph like rebuttals to some random guy in the comment that they don't know from Nancy or whatever. And these people are just exhausting all of this energy on a social media site where they're just like, you know, they have their side of the argument, and it's just back and forth. And then like you happen to like catch up with that friend, and like they're just going on a rant about the stranger they argued with an hour ago on Facebook. And I'm just like, man, come on.
And you'll never see me on any of those kind of posts. I will see them, and I would just keep scrolling, because there's no way I'm going to interact with that, because that is a lose-lose situation for you, because it's just going to continue. Nobody's going to win this argument, so you might as well just not even get into the debate.
Yeah, especially when it comes to politics, like right or wrong, there's like, you know, everybody has their guy or woman, whoever it is, and it's like you are never going to change their mind. Never. Like you know, you show me 10 people whose minds legitimately got changed, and I'll actually be shocked. But I strongly doubt that on a Facebook post on a Wednesday afternoon that you argued with somebody 8 paragraphs long, that you actually changed their perspective on politics or something.
You're not going to change anybody. Like if you get your news from Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, like, you go right ahead, because the problem is that stuff is written to a way where if you believe that stuff, then you're going to believe that anyway. So like, I read both sides.
Yes.
Because that's just the way I work. And like, I'm not going to just pick a side. I want to see both sides before I even make a decision on which way I want to go. And I still don't put my opinion out there, because I'm just like, I'm going to keep it to myself.
Yep.
Because that's better that way.
100%. And then there's the people that share like the random, like, oh, if I share this, I get a $50 gift card at Wegmans or something. It's like, or Whole Foods. It's like, that's totally fake. Why are you even sharing that? Like, if that was a real thing, that would be on every major news outlet. That would be on every tweet. Like, people would be losing their minds. Like, it would be like a top news. It'd be like if you were to turn on your television at the top of the hour, it'd be like one of the top headlines. Whole Foods today is offering a $50 gift card for each and every person that shares this Facebook. Like, it would be mega news. But instead, like, somehow these chains, they just get shared and shared and shared. And like, I don't know where it starts or how it starts, but man, it can be nerve-wracking sometimes seeing this stuff.
Yeah, I just stick to Instagram. I don't really get on Twitter or Facebook or anything like that. I used to be on Twitter and Facebook, but I'm like, after the whole election last year, in 2016, I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, I can't, like, this is too much. It's both sides, y'all are both arguing. Like, just stop. So like, I every now and then I get on Facebook, and then I'm like, nope, I'm getting off of this.
I swear like 5 or 6 years ago, Twitter was like the really sexy woman or guy at the bar that you wanted to go home with and hook up with. Like, Twitter was like on top of the freaking world, man. And then they just like collapsed, for lack of a better term. Like, I mean, if you go on there now, it's like it's just nothing. There's nothing happening.
Twitter is like a fire hose that never gets shut off, because there's always something coming out of there, and you're like, and you can't keep up.
Yeah, it's just noise.
You cannot keep up. So I can't. I just don't do it. Like, and I mean, Instagram's starting to slowly get into that now. But I know certain people that I like to follow, and I just follow their stuff, and then that's it.
Yeah, I keep hearing I got a guy at my job. He was telling me like probably a month or so ago. He's like, "Ah, man, you got to check out this TikTok." And I'm like, "Nope."
Nope.
I went on there like one time and I was just lost. And another guy that I talked to, he's like, "Yeah, my daughter like she is like a big time influencer on TikTok." And I'm like, what is this world even like? I don't even understand what this is. It's like, what do you dance to music or like, what is the story? And like, I don't understand it. And so I literally logged on. I think I posted like one thing and I just jumped off. Like I couldn't do it.
I just think TikTok is essentially what Snapchat used to be,
Right.
but just with music. So I think that's just not for me. Like, and
Yeah.
I like to try every platform. I'm like, okay, this just is not for me.
Oh yeah. What was that other one that there was one that like popped up?
Peach.
Was it Peach? It was like last fall. Like everybody was hopping on.
Oh. I know Peach popped up sometime last year, and then there's been one more since then, and I think something else popped up this year.
But yeah, there was something. And it looked like Instagram. It looked a lot like Instagram.
Yeah, that stuff does not last long.
Well, here it is. We can't remember the name of it. I mean, that's the reality.
It's irrelevant.
Exactly. Dude, I have a hard enough time keeping up with Instagram, as crazy as it sounds. I don't know about you. I have a hard enough time keeping up on there.
Like I said, I keep up with certain people. And
yes.
then I might, because after I took my break, like before I took my break, I would look at everybody's stuff. And then so I took that break in April. In April, I was like, okay, I'm only looking at certain people's stuff. I turn all my notifications off. So like I go in, I look at people's stuff, and then I come out. And so I have no clue who's posting whatever. So like, it's just better for me, and it's just better for my brain, because I used to have notifications on for everybody.
Right.
And so I was just getting pinged every 5 seconds. I was like, no.
What was that like that month? Like I went through the experience, and it was pretty wild. What was that like for you?
It was rough because like the first 2 days, I was like picking up my phone, like, oh, I can't look at anything. All right, put it down.
Did you deleted the apps, right?
I deleted everything but YouTube.
Okay, there you go.
Well, I deleted everything at first, and then I added YouTube back. But then YouTube started to become a problem because I started looking at YouTube for everything. So I was like, all right, that's just had to go too. So, but at one point, like I had everything off, and then like for the first couple of days, I couldn't look at anything. So I was like, oh, let me check my email.
Yeah.
So I was checking my email why am I checking my email? Like, for 3 days straight, and then I just stopped using it. So like it took like a solid week before I started to like get used to it. And then the second week was easier because then I started doing more creative stuff. Like I picked up my bass guitar again and started playing that, and I started drawing. Yeah. And I started doing a lot of reading. So like I kept myself busy, and then by the time I was done with the month, I was like, do I really want to go back to this? But then I decided, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna turn my notifications off and then just come on when I want to, and then come off.
Yeah, and that sounds like a good plan. Since.
Yeah. So it was rough for that first week, but like after that, it got easier. Yeah, I know yours is way different because you became Mr. Productivity.
Oh my God! But it was hard though, because like. You felt like, or I felt like, I was missing out on something, but then I just had to like load myself up with work. Like I just had to like just stay busy constantly. So I'm like, okay, my friend's band is playing, boom, I'm gonna go shoot that. I'm gonna go to this concert. I'm gonna go to this theme park. I'm gonna make this video. And I just started making video after video after video. And that got me away from it. And when I came back, I had to look at it differently. It's had to be a different perspective on all of it. And I still, to this day, I look at it a lot differently than I did before. And, I mean, I still get on there, but it's definitely dialed back a little bit, at least.
Well, I told Daryl this. I was like, I think I told Daryl and Rick this. I was like, I had not been off social media since it began. So whenever Twitter began, that's when I first got on social media. So like I got on Twitter around 2008.
Yep.
So it had been like 10, 11 years before I even took a break from the social media.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah. I've always been on some kind of social media since I got on Twitter in 2008.
Yeah, that's a long run. I remember. You never got onto MySpace like 04, 05. You were never into back then.
I wasn't really on like I I made that account and all that stuff, but I wasn't really on it. Like
Yeah,
it wasn't MySpace wasn't really my thing.
Yeah, I was always looking for something out there. Like once I discovered the internet, like just in general, like it was like we became inseparable. Like there was no pulling me off of it.
Yeah, I think MySpace was different because it was on a browser, so you had to be onto a computer to look at it. But once you got your phone and you start looking at like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, like on your actual phone, I think that's when social media really changed.
Oh yeah, it's a different ball game. I remember the old days of like trying to be on AOL Instant Messenger on a phone that did not have a keyboard. It just had like where you typed like if you wanted like the letter, you had to type 2 times, 3 times, 1 time. Like, God, try to like get your Mac on with a girl like you're trying to set up a date and like you're trying to like feverishly type like ba 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 ba. You know, let's go to the movies this weekend. You know, it's just difficult. It's so difficult.
And now we complain about autocorrect.
Yeah, you got that right, man. Or trying to like type out a emo lyric in an away message, like just trying to type that on the phone was just impossible. But at that time, my phone was faster than my internet at home because we had AOL dial up with that. Like all that noise that was a mess because, you know, somebody called or somebody downstairs got on the phone and you just lost your entire connection.
Now I'm just waiting for somebody to bring the Sidekick 2 back.
Did you have one of those?
No, but I wanted one. I'm surprised nobody has brought that back as a digital form.
Yeah.
I'm surprised nobody's done it yet. I mean, they brought back the Razor. Come on.
Yeah, they did bring back the Ray. I'll tell you this. I remember the Sidekick 2 when that was like hugely popular. That would have been like 05. No, like 04, 05, maybe even 03. And I remember like everybody in a band, because that's the time I was playing in bands, like everybody had those, especially the bands that were on tour. Like that was their way to stay in touch. Everyone had it. It was the cool thing to have. I finally remember I already had a phone with Sprint at the time and I did not need another phone, but good God, man, I had to have it. And I remember getting my tax check back and I bought that thing outright, $650, the Sidekick 3, which was not as good as the 2. From what all the loyalists to the Sidekick would tell you, but I had the Sidekick 3 and needless to say, at that point I was in my bands. And I was hanging out backstage on the side of the stage, whip my Sidekick out, type up a little AIM or something. Like I thought I was the shit, which I was not. I was not even close. But man, I thought it. I had my bangs up in my face, and sometimes the nails were painted and all that crap. And I thought I was legit.
See, and now we're in the future. We're in the future with foldable phones, but we can't get a Sidekick 2. Come on, man.
Yeah, they got. If they bring that back, I might have to get one. Like I'm a iPhone loyalist till I die, but I may just have to get a second line just to have that Sidekick, dude.
Yeah, they need to bring that back. I'm surprised they have not. With us having 11 iterations of the iPhone. Come on, man.
You know, I'm curious though. I'm gonna do this while I have you on with me right now. I'm gonna go on eBay right now. I'm curious, like, what does one fetch? It's got to be like rock bottom prices, right? So let's go to ebay.com. Let's go Sidekick 2.
Half the people listen to this have no clue what a Sidekick 2.
They have no idea. All right.
Sidekick. I only know iPhones and Androids. Come on, man.
All right. So the first listing that comes up that I can see is a Sidekick 2 tested working pre-owned $131. Wow. That's a pretty solid price. But I don't think you can activate them anymore because they relied on the Danger servers, which is the parent company, Hip Top Danger or whatever. And like the servers are shut down. So as far as I know, like that thing won't even work.
Yeah, see. I think that's just a nostalgia thing. People are like, here, I have a working Sidekick that you can't really use, but it works. You can turn it on.
Oh, here we go. You want to go to like a party, just like fun, like maybe even Halloween or something. $22.95 non-working Sidekick 2 for parts only.
Daryl, go ahead and get your fourth phone.
I thought he had more than that. Now hold on. I'm glad you brought that up because I hear that when it comes to the barometer of how many phones that Daryl has, I hear you are the absolute authority on that. So at this point in time, how many phones does Mr. Perry have?
I think he has 2, but he needs 2 more.
He needs 2 more. We should get him a Sidekick.
You know, when we went to Flying Big, I thought about just getting like a whole bunch of old phones and just giving them to him.
That's a great idea.
I was gonna give him like an older iPhone so he could use it, and like a couple Android phones and like a couple flip phones. I'm like, here you go, use these.
Somebody creative.
Expand your business.
Somebody that's like more creative than one of us should totally make a, like, not a gold chain, but like a chain made out of old phones and just give it to him to wear around his neck.
You mean no, he needs a belt buckle.
A belt buckle? Well, that
like
maybe you could do both.
Belt.
I was thinking like Flava Flav with the big clock, but instead of that, it's like phones.
No, he needs a tool belt.
Tim the Tool Man Taylor here. That'd be great. Good
now
God,
we're calling Daryl the Tool Man.
Yeah, why not? He's the phone man. He's the pusher man, the podcast pusher man. Now he can be the tool man.
I wonder how many people he's gotten to start a podcast.
All right, let's see.
I want to know what the count is, because every time he talks to somebody, he's like, "You need to start a podcast." I'm like, how many people are putting out a podcast now because of you?
I want to say at least 10 that, like, probably if I like sat here and we just like started listing IG handles, like I guarantee there's probably at least 10.
His output's pretty low then.
Step it up, Daryl. I was trying to get him to tell Megan and James, the Canes. I was trying to tell him to tell them to get their act together and get a podcast started, because we did almost 2 hours and they were just a freaking ride. I mean, I don't think their podcast would be weight loss, just because there's more comedic value with those two.
Wait a minute. It is July 31st right now as we're recording, and they still have not done a podcast yet. Come on.
They have not done a podcast yet.
I need a comedy podcast from the Canes.
I think so. I mean, you know, look, doing the weight loss stuff is cool and all. And I think we've kind of done a nice little chat here today about other stuff, but still relating to life in general. But like, I feel like there needs to be like one comedic relief podcast in our little group of the community of people that we know. And so I think that it's safe to say, and I'm sure that they're going to hear this at some point, that if we get to Cincinnati next year and they've still not started a podcast, we're going to have a real problem here.
Oh, we're going to have a problem way before that.
Yeah. Because I remember like when we met them the first time at the Under Armour store, like right out of the gate, they were just like boom, 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 like funny. And it's not even like people that are like trying to be funny. Like I swear, like I still have like flashbacks of like old me that was like really big and trying to be the funny fat guy. And so I still, to a certain degree, I try to be funny at times. And like, They're just like naturally funny. Like they just say stuff. And it's just hilarious.
Yeah, I just need a whole, give me like a 20-minute podcast of just them talking about random stuff. I will listen to it.
Oh, I'm all in. I mean, I at this point they had made me so freaking filled with joy and happiness of laughter that I was ready to spend the remainder of my vacation with them. My wife would have killed me because she's like, "Hey, this is supposed to be for you and I." But I'm like, "Man, these Canes, man, they're hilarious. I can't get enough of these guys."
Yeah. Like, come on, like, y'all need to start your podcast. Stop BSing.
Yeah, stop that. Let's get on it right now. I don't know, Daryl. I know he's listening to this.
Daryl's got clout. Come on.
We just taped the podcast last night.
Yeah, Daryl needs to get his 11th podcast started. Come on.
Yeah, he should just be the host of it then. That would be funny because I'd like to see him try to navigate those two.
You know, he's trying to get me to start one with him too.
Really?
I don't know if it's going to happen. Yes, me and him are talking about doing a podcast together where it's on each of our podcast feeds, where one episode's on his and one episode's on mine, and we just go back and forth. I don't know if that's going to happen. We're possibly recording this weekend, so by the time you're hearing this, you might hear a new podcast between me and Daryl. I have no clue. but we'll see.
That guy would podcast anything. He'd podcast the damn phone book if he could.
It's tentatively called the Dumpster Fire Podcast. We'll see. We're just going to throw everything in the dumpster and just let it burn. So I don't know.
I think he knows about your superstar status among our community, and he's just trying to reach on for that rub, as they say in the pro wrestling business, trying to get a little bit of that Willie Gillis rub.
I told him we should just call it Willie and Daryl Break the Internet.
I think you guys would. You guys put out something that has the two of you on it, and people are going to flock to that thing like you would not believe.
And then they're going to turn off.
No, I don't believe that for a second, man. I don't believe the two of you guys and the reach that the two of y'all have combined, like, forget about it, man. That's going to be the top podcast. I might as well shut down shop and just be a listener, be a consumer of content rather than a creator, because it won't get much better than that.
No, you're the flagship.
No,
you're the flagship show.
I don't know about that. Daryl is trying to tell me, like, oh yeah, you know, because we talked on a podcast, now I do this and that. I'm like, man, get out of here. Stop that. I don't want to hear it. I'm terrible at taking compliments, and he tries to give me I'm terrible with it.
Don't listen to Daryl. he will lead you astray.
I know. My introverted self cannot handle that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that he got me to start a podcast, and I've kept it up this long, because I was like, I don't want to do a podcast, and he's like, you need to do a podcast. I was like, okay. Yes, sir, I will.
How many episodes in the can?
As of this recording, I have 25.
That's a lot of freaking podcasts. That's more than most people that start them. That's more than most people do.
Yeah, I've got 25 scheduled, and I've got like 5 more ready to get recorded. So by the time everybody's hearing this, I'll probably be like episode 30 or 31 or something like that. So
that's incredible. I know most people, like, when they start one, they'll be lucky if they make it past episode 5.
You know, I told Crystal this, and I was like, Crystal, if you want me to be on your podcast, I'll do it. And she was like, I hate my podcast. I'm like, yeah, but you should do it anyway, because she was like, it's not good. I'm like, I ramble too much. I'm like, you've only done like 3. So like,
yeah,
it took me 17 episodes before I was like, okay, this is working. I know what I'm doing with it now.
Yeah, I can identify with that. I mean, it takes a long time to find your groove. I have the tape somewhere. Maybe I'll release it one day. I mean, but it's all wrestling, so it's probably not relevant, but it's bad. It's really bad. I'm listening to that and I'm like, ugh, I hate this. It took me like 2 years before I even really got the groove. Unless
you're like Emily, who just comes out the gate with podcasts, and then she says, oh, this is my season finale. Yeah.
No. She's like, yeah, I'm out, you know, and all that stuff. She was just like, all right, I'm just rolling out.
Well, no, I talked to her and I was like, you know, she was talking about getting boxed into weight loss. I was like, you don't have to do weight loss. Even though your podcast is called Emma's The Biggest Loser, you don't really have to do weight loss. You can pivot.
Yeah, no, you definitely can. I mean, once people like know you and they start to believe in you, like, all that stuff goes to the wayside. Like, I feel like, you know, people, they want to know more about you and the other things that you're into. And I struggle with that too, right? Because, like, you know, I'll put out a post, you know, I'll put out my normal posts about, like, you know, weight loss or whatever, and it does, you know, pretty well by Instagram standards. But then you put out something that's not related to that, and maybe it doesn't do as well. And I'm like, oh man, I get into my own head and I'm like, well, maybe people just don't want to hear that stuff. And then I don't realize, well, it's different than what I normally put out. And then probably the algorithm's not favoring it for that reason. And maybe that's why. But I think people, they're generally interested, you know, and all you can do is just put it out and see what happens.
Yeah. I think people just want to hear your story. They don't care if it's a certain topic or anything like that. They just want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And you just have to put that stuff out. And when I kind of pivoted with the podcast, I was like, I don't want to just talk about me. I wanted to, because I'm a super curious person. I was like, I want to know about other people. Because I was talking to all these people in DMs, and I was just like, let me have a longer form conversation with people on a microphone and then just record it. And so that's what I started doing.
Oh yeah, because the DMs are so like short form, and
Yeah.
you can never really get like the context or the emotion from somebody like truly until you hear them.
Yeah. And so like I've met like people like I've been talking through DMs like Jack and Leah and like other people's podcasts I've been listening to like yours and Daryl's. And I have a podcast coming out. It'll be up before all this, but with a person who she wrote a journaling book, and I read that book, and then I learned she had a podcast, and I started listening to her podcast. So like I've had conversation with just people that I've never thought I would have a conversation with, like long form.
Oh yeah, no, and that's a beautiful thing when you can do that. I mean, I know being an introverted person, it was very difficult, the idea of even doing this, but I had to get out of my comfort zone. Like I just had to do it. And it ended up turning out pretty well because it afforded me the opportunity to talk to so many people. And now I can't imagine not doing that.
Yeah, because you get to learn about different people and not have to worry about like trying to have this long form conversation through DMs. Like you can actually sit down and it's like you're having coffee with a person at a table and they're just talking back and forth.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, to put a bow on the other thing about not putting out, like what you're normally putting out or whatever, or being out of the weight loss space. I mean, you just got to put it out and try it. That's all you can do. I know the interview, you'll hear it next week, but the one I put out next week, the one that's like with my old band buddy, like I was kind of nervous to put that out because when I was trying to get this guy for a podcast 2 years ago, when I first started, I was kind of just doing anything and everything. And then like probably 2 months after that, I started like really zeroing in on the weight loss and talking to others from Instagram. And so when I finally asked him and he was like, yeah, let's just do it. And I was like, oh man, well, I'm really happy. I've been chasing this for 2 years, but how's the audience going to react? Are they going to understand? And I'm just like, you know what? You just got to put it out there and see what happens.
No, I think it's going to be good because you were kind of explaining it to Daryl the other day, and I was like, I would definitely listen to that, and especially if you have different people who have been in bands and stuff like that. I found it interesting to be like a behind the music kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I'm actually taping another one tomorrow. There was a guy also from like 20 years ago, wasn't local or anything. This guy from New York. He was in a band, and it'll probably be the podcast that comes out after this for people that are actually listening. And it's definitely has nothing to do with like weight loss or anything like that. But like, and I haven't even spoken to this guy since 2002. Like we haven't even like talked in probably 17 years or 18 years. So like I'm super nervous for one. And then also I'm just like, well, I'm hoping that the other one goes over well. So then I can be like, well, if you guys like that one, guess what? This I got this one coming up and this is going to be kind of in the same vein, but adding the music in really helped. And I heard you mention earlier, you started picking up the bass again. I don't think we got into this in the first podcast, but I didn't know you were a musician.
I dabble.
You dabble. How did you get interested in
it? I've been playing some form of music since I want to say like 11. So like I was in like band in school, like middle school and elementary school, middle school, high school, college. Like I was in band, like I was in marching band and stuff like that. And I've always been kind of drawn to music. So like I've dabbled. I'm not the greatest bass player, but like I found it interesting. And I want to learn. I always want to like learn how to play piano and guitar and stuff like that. So like, I like to do something that's creative. Like I started drawing when I was on social media break and all that stuff. So like I just really am drawn to just anything creative.
Bass players are so cool though. No, I'm serious. Like people like I've talked to people that like, they're into bands. They're like, oh, the bass player, he's so cool. I'm like, what is it about the bass players that people draws them in? I don't know what it is, but people love the bass players. I never played bass for a band, but I've picked up a bass many times and just because it's not too different from guitar. If you know guitar, it's instead of playing like a full chords, it's like you're just playing like one note, and at a time, and it really hurts your fingers. I know that much. That God, if you're not used to that, I mean, I thought playing on an acoustic guitar was rough with them thick ass steel strings, but you try going on some bass strings and that's a different ball game.
See, I used to play with a pick, but I'm like, no, man, I'm gonna use my fingers. So like that's all I use.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And what kind of style is it that you were doing?
This one's just like a 4-string Ibanez. Like it's not anything. It's like a beginner bass. I've had it for 10 years and I still play it. So, and it works. So it doesn't bother me. I play anything. I just try to like go with music and stuff like that and play along and stuff like that. So,
what are you playing along to?
Right now I'm playing along to a lot of jazz.
Oh, cool.
Like a lot of jazz and blues and stuff like that. So like, yeah, I'm into that stuff right now.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I haven't picked up a guitar in probably a year and a half, and I don't know if I mean, I will again at some point, but I don't know when. I don't have the time anymore. I need to make the time, but I'm kind of focused right now on videos, but I love playing music, man. It's always it always like puts your mind at ease. It always takes the stress off, and you get to sit there and just strumming away, man. I love it.
I mean, I do it when I'm watching TV. So like, I'll just sit there and play while I'm watching TV. So like, yeah, I really enjoy it. It's kind of like some form of meditation. So like it's like calming, and you can kind of concentrate on one thing. So I like it.
Oh, I totally get it. Are you ever like trying to compose stuff on there, like making your own thing?
I want to start doing that. Like I made my intro and stuff with the podcast, but like I want to start doing a little bit more of that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's always fun. Creating music can be tough though, because like if you think being your own worst enemy on like podcasts or videos is rough, try to critique your own song, and it's like 10 times worse.
Oh yeah.
10 times worse. Like, oh man, the amount of songs that like sat in a notebook somewhere and never did anything just because there was like one or two things that I didn't like, and I didn't have the drive to try to fix those things. I just like got so angry and pissed off. Like music can be tough when you're trying to compose, for sure.
Yeah.
So what else do you got going on in your world, man?
Like I said, right now, just really the podcast. I'm really enjoying just talking to different people, and I'm trying to get bigger people that like have inspired me either through weight loss or just like strength training and stuff like that. So like I'm trying to get a few more people on. It's been kind of hard to schedule people, but I'm getting to it.
You know who's a good guest? I don't know if you know this guy. I had him on the podcast once. Cliff Ravenscraft. Yes, amazing guy.
I know Cliff.
Oh, you do know Cliff? Okay, great. Yeah. If I know he's booking a ton of interviews to promote his conference coming up in, I think it's September.
Yeah.
Hit him up, because it'll be a good excuse to get him on the podcast, and you can pick his brain about other stuff, because I know he wants to promote that, and I'm happy to do that and happy to help him. But I definitely like to pick his brain any chance I get, and I'd reach out to him, dude. He'll do your podcast for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to him. I have like a short list of people like that I like really want to get on the podcast, and then I have like a lot of other people that are probably gonna be on way before that. So like I have at least 10 people lined up.
So you're going out and you're doing the recruiting. I guess we're doing it kind of like differently, because I'm just like asking. I'm like asking if anybody wants to come on, let me know, because that's the introverted side of me. I feel like uncomfortable like going to somebody and like trying to like bug them, like, please, do my podcast. Like how do you handle that?
I kind of do what you do, or I'm like I'll put up a post on Instagram story, like, hey, you ever done a podcast? You want to do my podcast? DM me. And then some people will DM me, and then some people I'll just go after. So like Chelsea, Construction Chelsea. Yeah. I've been trying to get her on the podcast for like 2 months, and she's like, oh, I'm not going to do that.
What?
Yes. It's a running joke between me and her. She's like, if I ever meet you in person, then maybe I'll do it. Then I'm like, come on.
Oh, she's just trolling you.
She's trolling me. Yeah. So it's just back. Like, it's funny because tomorrow I'll post a podcast with Leah. So tomorrow I'm going to post the podcast with Leah, and then I will probably get a DM from Chelsea saying, I'll be like, today's guest is, and then she'll be like, it's not me. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I remember she stuck out like a sore thumb to me because I remember how she actually approached me about it. It was not on a Wednesday when I was like actively promoting and trying to find people. It was like just a random other day of the week. And she's like, so pretend that you just put up one of your stories asking for guests and pretend that I want to come on and be on your podcast. And how would that go? And I'm like, we just do it. It's no problem. Come on and let's do it. And I just thought that was so cool.
I have information now.
Yeah, we gotta help each other out. I mean, I've already had her on the podcast, so it's not like she's gonna blow me off from being on the podcast. So I really have nothing to lose in this. I've already got her recorded and posted. So now you got all the dirt. You just go in there and attack.
So Chelsea, you're listening to this now. You're gonna be on my podcast. Sorry.
Yeah, it can be tough though, because I think especially in stories, people kind of just like skip through real quick, and I don't know if they always see the request, and sometimes you're like, oh man, I hope somebody will get back, because again, I hate to just come out and ask. Like, there's a few people that I've asked, but I hate doing it just because I don't want to be that annoying guy.
No, I go for it.
So you've just got like running gags with people that are just like, hey, like Chelsea or whatever. It's just like, hey, like come on the podcast, but you're not really coming on the podcast. And then like you just go back and forth and eventually you get something recorded.
Yep, pretty much. I have the same running gag with Emily. So
yeah, well, yeah, we've been talking since like February, and she still is blowing me off. She won't do the podcast. Oh,
it's funny though, because Emily drops her season finale. And then I was like, I said something about being on the podcast. No, she drops the season finale. And then in the season finale, she goes, I'm just going to be on other people's podcasts. Just like Willie Gillis. I'm like, how did you just drop that and hint that you're going to be on my podcast? And I've been trying to get you on for weeks.
She did the same thing to me, dude. And I DM'd her the moment I heard that, and I called her out on it, and still nothing. Like still nothing. So like, okay, she's going to hear this obviously at the end of August. So this is right now, August, whatever it is, or not even August yet. It's July 31st. It will be August. Yep. And we had just talked like 2 days ago, and I had reminded her that like we were talking about it, and then like the conversation just stopped. And I remind her of that, and then it just stopped again, like as far as the podcast. So I'm like, all right, if it's still the end of August and we haven't done this yet, she's gonna hear this. It's gonna be pretty uncomfortable for both of us.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, Emily, piss or get off the pot. Either you want to come on or you don't. Let's go, dude. Let's go.
I love and you know me, I love trolling people in DMs, but just because I know people I like to get a rise out of people, so like I'm just gonna go for it. I don't care, and half the time people know I'm joking, but
yeah,
like, yeah, come on, like should have get off the pot. Come on, if you want to be on the podcast, come on. Like I'm asking you, I have the time, I have the equipment to do it. Come on, you don't have to do anything. You can just talk.
Yeah, just show up. I feel like we're both gonna have a few DMs after this podcast gets released to everybody. I feel like we're gonna have a few DMs.
This song go on Daryl's.
Yeah, I know. It's like, hey, they've been blowing us off, and they just show up on Daryl's podcast. Like, damn you. He must have been pushing them harder. He's like, probably in their DM like every hour, like, come on, you know what? Do my podcast. You know what? He always says, you know what? Do my podcast.
I told Daryl, I was like, how many weekly podcasts are you going to start? You have one with Gary. You have one with Rachel. You have one with Nikki. Now you have one with Bo. You're trying to get one with me. Are you trying to cover every day of the week?
Maybe that's the goal. Oh man. Yeah. Now you got to do it. You got to contribute to his weekly goal.
So he's got a podcast weekly, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. No, yeah, Wednesday and Thursday, I think. Yeah.
Oh my God. How is that going to work though? Like when we get to Cincinnati, like I'm going to want to like have him on again, because that's what we do now. It's going to become a tradition, and like he's not going to have any time because he's going to be recording like 5 other podcasts.
He'll just send you his link to his calendar.
Oh my God, Daryl, We love you. This is all in fun love for you, my friend.
He will drop that calendar in your DM. I'm telling you. He did it to me. He did it to me this week. He's like, hey, you want to record a podcast? Hit the link in the calendar. Come on, man.
I know. You would think that we're good enough friends where we don't need to be in his calendar where he puts the other people. Like,
let me schedule you in.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, Willie, and this might piss you off, but like, I didn't have to go in the calendar thing.
What?
He didn't DM me the calendar link. He just said, hey, how about Tuesday at 5:30? I was like, cool, let's do it.
I feel like I'm a second-rate friend now.
Oh man.
Am I the part-time friend now?
You might be. You that might be the thing, man, because you had to go in the calendar thing and I didn't. You're the second class citizen.
Oh, Daryl. He's gonna hear this and he's gonna be like, man, you guys have just been trolling me for the last 20 minutes.
We've been going at him hard here today, Willie. We've dedicated the last 20 minutes of this podcast to going hard on Daryl.
Somebody's got to keep him in line. Somebody's got to do it.
Oh my goodness. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to catch up and do this again for sure. I mean, it definitely took a different turn. We barely talked about weight loss. It's something which actually played into a conversation we had later where like, do we want to do podcasts that are not about weight loss? And here we did a bunch. We did like an hour plus on mostly not weight loss.
Nobody wants to hear about anybody's weight loss every time. If you want to hear about weight loss, go back and listen to my first episode with Gary. There you go. It was in October.
All right, now I got to pull out my phone. I'm going to look at this just before we sign off so I can refer.
Gary's got to pull out his second phone now. Come on.
I only have one phone, but soon if they bring back the Sidekick, I'm doing two phones. I will do that if they bring back the Sidekick.
Now you have to get the 2-phone crew shirt from Daryl.
I'll do it. Episode 68 featuring Feet Willie Gillis. There you have it.
One episode off from.
Oh yeah. I don't even know who was that episode 69. Ryan Tomko was 69.
Come on, Ryan.
Have you done his podcast yet? Nice guy.
I was like the first person he recorded with.
Oh really?
But I think I'm like the 5th episode. I should have asked him like, why? Oh, because I think I was on a social media break when he put him out. So
he wanted to wait.
Yeah.
He just wanted you to wait so you could be back and promoted on your highly popular @Willie Gillis on Instagram.
I like how people give me flack for that, for having my name as. No, Daryl gave me flack for that because he's like, you're the only person that has your name as your Instagram handle. Like, bullshit,
I have my name.
Well, he was giving me flack for it.
He never gave me flack for it. Daryl, give me some flack, buddy. No, I'm kidding. Hey, but you know what? You got to put your name on it, right?
Well, I had like a weird, because I used to have a blog and I used to have a weird name and it didn't really work. And I was like, let me just change it to my name. It's just easier.
Yeah. What's wrong with that? Like, what's with all these people that don't want to use their name? Like, what are you running from?
Yeah. Why does Daryl not have Daryl Perry? Come on.
Yeah.
Just buy it from somebody.
I wonder who okay, now I got to look up one more thing. Let's see here. Let me go to Instagram. Daryl Perry.
Everybody should have their name as their Instagram because when I meet you in person, I'm going to be like, aren't you such and such? It's just easier to remember your name if your Instagram handles your name. Come on, man.
Well, somebody has it, but they have 0 followers. They're not following anybody and they have 0 posts.
Well, what you do is you just get that person to make a podcast.
What would they call it though? Because you already got the Daryl Perry podcast.
Just call it the Perry podcast. How about that?
The Perry podcast. I like it.
There you go.
Man, we've gone way too hard on Daryl. I feel like he needs to take a break. He needs to have a breather after all this verbal beating we've given him here.
I mean, he's already a Patreon podcast producer, so he's
going to hear this first.
I know he will, and that's why I'm giving him flack.
Oh, I love it. I love it. We're gonna go hard. I mean, he's paying to listen to this, and we're gonna give him a bunch of shit. I feel terrible.
I don't. I don't at all.
Yes, you got nothing to lose on this. I got mouths to feed over here at the GCP studio. So he's gonna be dropping off like really quick.
You're in his weekly clan, so you're you're in his weekly lineup of shows. So
I know
he's got a network going on over there.
Oh my God, the Daryl Perry Network. Maybe that's the next thing. The Daryl Perry Network live.
Look, now I'm going to DM that.
Yeah,
I'm going to DM him that, and be like, "You need to start your own network."
Hey, that's his next Instagram name, the Daryl Perry Network. And if he doesn't start it, damn it, one of us needs to start it as a parody account.
I'm going to make an account just now. Just
call
it the Daryl Perry Network.
You can just repost all of his posts. That'd be great.
That could be the ultimate troll right now. I can just be just posting everything he posts and be like, "Who is this?"
Yeah, because you won't hear it for another month.
Oh, I'm doing it now. You should have told me that.
Oh my God.
I'm starting it right now.
Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. Well, you know what? He's going to, for the next month, he's going to be trying to figure this out for the next month.
So, I told you I love trolling people.
Oh,
and I have the username too. Daryl Perry Network. There you go.
I cannot wait to see the kind of content that is posted at Daryl Perry Network. And by the way, when people hear this a month later, I expect there to be all kinds of content on at Daryl Perry Network.
So great.
Well, this was definitely fun, and it ended on a note I was not expecting. I like that. I'm leaving all this in too. Like it's all
that's how I roll.
Yeah. I don't edit. The only thing I cut is the awkward silence at the beginning and at the end, and then you put in the little music bumpers, and we're out of here. That's pretty much how it works.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, Willie, this has been an absolute blast, man. You have turned my shitty day otherwise into a much happier ending. So I appreciate you for that. I needed this today.
Well, anytime, man. You know, I'm here for comic relief.
And speaking of which, I just realized that maybe, you know, the king of trolls over here has been trolling, because I know that you've asked me a couple of times to be on your podcast, and I've already agreed more than once, and it still hasn't happened. So I'm just saying.
We will make that happen. We will definitely make that happen.
6 months from now, we do the next podcast. It's like, hey, remember that time where you said it was definitely happening and it still hasn't happened yet? Oh my goodness. Well, at Willie Gillis on Instagram, anywhere else you want these people to go?
You can listen to my podcast. It's called the What I Live For podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard the man. Go get it. And Willie Gillis, thank you, sir. What a great afternoon, evening this has been. Thank you, sir.
No problem, man.
Remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a little thing called Patreon? Well, I'd love to have you join me. But Gary, what is Patreon? It's a website that is helping small creators like me raise funds to further expand their creative visions. For as low as $1 a month, you can help me further my dream of reaching as many people as possible and eventually taking the show on the road to meet all these fine people face to face and add a video element to this podcast. If you were to donate $4 a month, you'd be hearing this show a few days earlier with no commercials and getting access to my close friends group on Instagram. Donate $10 a month and you get all that plus your name right at the beginning of the show alongside other producers, but act fast. That tier is limited to 10 people. I've got a whole lot more to offer, and you can get all the details over at patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for checking out the show, and I'll talk to you again really soon. HardWorkAlwaysWins.com. It's more than just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I speak it, I wear it, I live it, and I'd love to have you join the Hard Work Squad. We're constantly adding new items to the store, including our brand new Future-ish hats, which come in a variety of colors, including camo. I mean, who doesn't like camo? We also just put our famous Splash logo in gold to match our OG logo, and there's so much more here. You just got to check it out. Here's the best part. Use the code podcast at checkout to take 10% off of your very first order and join the hard work squad today.